Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of some of the special statistics functions in a calculator or an Excel spreadsheet or something like that to have it take care of the details of finding the mean and the median and things like that. So I'm going to go back to this example of this set of 9 numbers, 9 salaries. And first, let me show you, if you've got a graphing calculator, how you can put in a list of numbers and ask the calculator to give you some information about them. So I'm going to push the Stat button. And if I just push Enter, notice right now it's on Edit. If I just push Enter, now with my calculator here, there's nothing in it. If you did this and you saw a bunch of numbers that were already in your calculator, like, I don't know, something like this, and you need to get those out of there before you do anything else, go back to the main Stat screen, so push Stat again. Now go down to choice number 4 where it says Clear List. Select that, and that was list L1. That was the first list. So to clear list L1, I'm going to push the second button, and it's the 1 button, but it says L1 above it. So I just told the calculator to clear out that first list. So now when I go back and hit Edit again, now it is cleared out. There's no numbers in there. So now I'm going to put in the numbers. I'm going to punch in 100,000, so that's 100,000, and hit Enter. And then punch in 65,000, Enter. 32,000, Enter. 28,000, Enter. 12,000, Enter. 18,000, whoops, that was one too many zeros. I went back and deleted one. Enter. 22,000, Enter. 14,000, Enter. And 33,000, Enter. And now I'm done, so if you want to just quit out of there, you can, if you have some other things to do. But I'm going to go back to the Stat screen. I'm going to push the Stat button again, and I'm going to use this arrow button to move over and highlight Calc. And I just want the one variable stats, the first thing on the menu, so I'll hit Enter. And I have to tell it which list to look at. So my numbers were in list L1, so I again push second and the button that has the L1 above it and hit Enter. And first thing it tells me is that X bar, the mean, is 36,000. It also tells me that the sum of X, just those numbers added together, is 324,000. The next thing don't worry about, but the next thing, SX, is what we're going to talk about in the next section, section 3.2. That is the sample standard deviation. So if you need your calculator to find the sample standard deviation S for you, there's where that is. And the next thing is sigma X, so that would be the population standard deviation. That's another thing we'll talk about in section 3.2. It tells me that N is 9, so that's how many numbers are on the list. And the down arrow here means that there's more numbers that it'll show me if I push the down arrow. So I'll push it a bunch of times, and it tells me that the minimum, the smallest number on the list, was 12,000. The maximum, the biggest number, was 100,000. And the median was 28,000. It also gives me values for Q1 and Q3, and those are quartiles, and that's something that we're going to be talking about in section 3.3 and 3.4. So that's coming up later, and if you want your calculator to tell you what those are, that's where you find those. Another option is if you have a calculator app on your computer or on your cell phone, and one that I like that is free is Desmos. So what I'm showing you on screen here is what comes up if you go on your computer, get on your browser, and go to desmos.com/calculator. But you can also get it as an app for your phone. They have a graphing calculator app. They also have a scientific calculator app that doesn't have as many functions, doesn't do the graphing part, but it's simpler if you wanted a simpler version. We're not going to be doing anything with the graphing capabilities today, but if you ever take like an algebra class where you're graphing equations, this is one thing you can use for that. But what I'm going to do is, now if you're on the computer, you can just type in using your computer's keyboard. But if you're on your phone app, you might want to use the keypad for that. It looks like this. So first I'm going to put in a list of numbers. I could call this list, say, X equals, and I'm going to put the list in square brackets. So I have to push the ABC to get to where I can put in the brackets, and then go back to the numbers and put in my numbers. So they were 100,000, and then I need a comma, and then the next number was 65,000, and then a comma, and then just put in the rest of the numbers separated by commas. So I've finished typing in the numbers. Now notice I didn't use commas in the number, like to separate the thousands from the hundreds digit. I just used commas between the numbers. And then, whoops, why did that disappear? So when I finish typing all of those numbers in and hit enter, which is this on the keypad, it tells me I just put in X is a 9-element list. So X is a list of numbers with 9 numbers in it. Now, if I hit this functions button and I select stats, here are some stats functions that it will let me do. And notice that here's mean, here's median, there's also total and min and max and STDEV and STDEVP and some other things. But let's say I want the mean of that list of numbers. I can hit mean, and then it sticks in parentheses, and I'm just going to put an X because that's what we called the list. It was list X. And okay, for some reason it wasn't working when my list was called X. So I went back and renamed list A. So you have to use a letter like A to get this to work. So if you need to get to the letters, they're here. Anyway, now that I've called my list A, let me go back and try out the mean of A. And right away there it says it's equal to 36,000. Let's try another one. Let's ask it for the median of A. The median of list A tells me is 28,000. Let's see what else I could ask it for. Well, I could ask it for the minimum and that's 12,000. And let me point out, we have this STDEV, which is for the sample standard deviation, and STDEVP, which is for the population standard deviation. So if I wanted the sample standard deviation of the numbers on my list, I could ask for STDEV of list A, and that's 28,735.866. That was the same number the calculator gave. We'll talk about standard deviations in section 3.2. Now here we are in Excel. And if you had some other spreadsheet program like Google Sheets or something like that, it would work as pretty much the same way. But I can type in my numbers in cells of the spreadsheet. So I could type in 100,000 and then 65,000. So that was in cell A1 and A2. And now I'm in cell A3 and I'm typing in 32,000 and so on. I'll just type in the rest of the numbers. So now all 9 of my numbers are in cells A1 through A9. Now I'm just going to go to some blank cell anywhere in the spreadsheet, doesn't matter where, and type in first the equal sign and then the word average. For some reason, Excel wants you to use the word average, not mean. So average and then parentheses A1, colon A9, close parentheses. When you do that, it draws a box around the numbers so that you can check and make sure you included the numbers you meant to include. And when I hit enter, the number that shows up in that cell that I typed that into is the average, the mean of all those numbers. If I go to another blank cell and type in equals and then the word median, A1 colon A9, I get the median of those numbers. I can type in mode, but in this case, it tells me no answer because there is no mode. But if there was a mode, if there was one number that appeared more often than the others, it would give me that mode. And looking ahead to when we talk about standard deviations, I can type in stdev.s if I want the sample standard deviation, or stdev.p if I want the population standard deviation. Either way, after it in parentheses, I put A1 colon A9. And so that gives me my sample standard deviation and my population standard deviation. There's other ways of getting Excel to give you statistics, and you'll see one of those ways as part of the project. But this is at least one way you can put a bunch of individual data values and then ask Excel to give you the average and the median and other things for that list of numbers. There are also statistics functions built into simpler calculators, like some version of a TI-30, but I don't have a real good way of showing you that on screen right now. But I did include instructions in the notes. So if you have a calculator like that and want to try using its special built-in statistics functions, that is a possibility.